U.S. President Donald Trump continues to escalate his global trade war, signing a sweeping executive order to impose new tariffs on nearly 70 countries, effective in just the next 7 days, including a 25% tariff on Indian exports. Other affected nations include Pakistan, Bangladesh, Vietnam and Brazil. That's not all. The U.S. president has also announced an additional unspecified penalty targeting India's trade ties with Russia, especially in defense and crude oil. Amid rising tensions, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio downplayed Trump's dead economy remark. Remember, the U.S. president had said, "I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together for all I care." Now we're going to bring you more context around what's taking place at home, where Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal assured the Parliament the government is closely monitoring the situation and will take necessary steps to protect national interests. Government sources are revealing to CNN News 18 that India's strategy shift is about managing energy needs, not yielding to the United States pressure. Now, on the other side, Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi criticizing the Modi government, blaming it for the economic slowdown. Take a look at different reactions coming through, then we'll go over to reporters for more.
Well, there's a lot of countries that I know have reached out. I believe it's upwards of 200 countries around the world have reached out to the trade and tariff team. Of course, as I said previously, and the president said, we're going to prioritize our key trading partners, which we have done. Like I said, of the 18, 2/3 of those we have cut these tailor-made deals with. But I do know that the trade team has been working around the clock to try to be in correspondence with as many countries as possible. But if they haven't heard from us yet, they will in the form of a letter or an executive order by midnight tonight.
In an interview with CNBC, we've had U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent remark that the U.S. president and the whole trade negotiation team has been frustrated with India. This is a larger report on the same. Take a look.
A lot was made of the president's comments about India. We were trying to figure it out exactly what, and it's obviously negotiating and leverage and everything else. And we've heard that we're close with India, and that's one of the majors, other than China, that are left. What was the president's intent yesterday with some of those comments about India? And do you expect something to happen before the deadline?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. It'll be up to India. India came to the table early. They've been slow rolling things. So I think that the president, the whole trade team's a bit frustrated with them. And also, India's been a large buyer of sanctioned Russian oil that they then resell as refined products. So, they have not been a great global actor.
All right, let's take a look very quickly at the two claims, one from the United States and one from India. First, what is the US claiming about India? Number one, they're saying, and this is primarily our focus is right now in the next few minutes on the trade question when it comes to oil. So the US is claiming that crude oil trade is sustaining Russia's war right now against Ukraine. And unless that is stopped, nothing else will be. They're of course saying that India buys Russian crude oil and then resells the refined products. They've said that India hasn't been a great global player. What they mean is that in global negotiations, according to the United States, India isn't playing the right side. The US, Trump has also said that buying crude at a reasonable price is this is what India has said. India has argued that we have the right to buy crude at a reasonable price, no matter who is offering that oil. That's number one. Number two, they've said India buying Russian oil has stabilized crude oil prices. The other argument that India has made again and again, and this is key, is that Russia is a trusted, time-tested friend of the nation. Russia is a country that time and time again has taken India's side. Anytime an attack takes place, for example, they put out statements. That responsibility, that diplomatic relationship is key between the two of them. Okay, let's go over to our colleague Pallavi to understand more on this entire story. Pallavi, we're coming over to you to understand next what takes place now. How is India's External Affairs Ministry, India's Centre, processing these incredibly sharp comments that have come in from the US President in the last few days, and how do they plan to respond?
See, Toya, different countries respond differently, and if you look at the kind of renegotiations which have happened on the trade tariff policy, you're going to see the difference as far as the foreign policy and the negotiating chips of the various countries. You know, if you just have to go through Truth Social, and you will see the claims coming in from Donald Trump that I had a phone conversation with, say, the president of Mexico or Canada or Cambodia, and he has brought down the tariff policies. What is being insinuated is that they called him up, they pleaded with him so that they would get a better treatment. That is where India is going to be different. There's going to be no pleading from our side, and whatever negotiations which have taken place have hinged on the fact, and I think the Commerce Minister made it very clear when he spoke in Parliament yesterday, Viksit Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and how our economy has increased from being in a position of 11 years back. We are now in a 5th position, and we are soon going to go up the 3rd position. We are now into the grouping of the $1 trillion economy, and this development has happened where the world has taken up and taken notice of India. So while we are progressive and while we do want our exports to increase, because that's where the revenue earner comes in, and on some sectors, Soya, we would require those imports, but even when we renegotiate, and that is possible because the American negotiators as of now coming on schedule towards the end of August, we are not going to negotiate on what is considered to be non-negotiable, which is the farmers' interest, which is the interest of the dairy industry, the labor-intensive ones like footwear, carpet, so on and so forth. So if this is the talking point which we have set, we cannot expect that Americans to expect from us that our Prime Minister or any of our senior ministers are going to call him up and plead with him to get a better trade policy. But having said that, 25.5% till June 2025 is the kind of figures we have with America. They remain our biggest trade partner, just as we are the biggest trade partner for America, and therefore it is in American interest. Their consumers also will have to pay the price for a high tariff. So it's in the interest of the American consumers, the American markets and economy, that they also strike a more negotiable, agreeable trade deal. So I think that is the road ahead. For now, I didn't see a sense of panic within the government. They're waiting and watching. It's a sensitive situation, so no one wants to make any comments off the cuff.
Okay, Pallavi, if we could ask you to stay with us, we'll just come back to you. We want to play out for our audience more reactions that continue to come in. Take a look.
वाणिज्य एवं उद्योग मंत्रालय निर्यातकों और उद्योग सहित सभी हितधारकों से संवाद कर इस विषय पर उनके आकलन की जानकारी ले रहा है। हम अपने रिफॉर्म्स और अपने किसानों, एमएसएमई और उद्यमियों की कड़ी मेहनत के बल पर 11वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था से शीर्ष 5 अर्थव्यवस्थाओं में से एक बन गए हैं। हम अपने राष्ट्रीय हितों को सुरक्षित करने और आगे बढ़ाने के लिए सभी आवश्यक कदम उठाएंगे। भारत फ्रैजाइल 5 अर्थव्यवस्थाओं में से निकलकर दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ती प्रमुख अर्थव्यवस्था बन गया है। भारत वैश्विक विकास में लगभग 16% का योगदान दे रहा है।
Okay, let's just go over to our colleague Pallavi to understand more. Pallavi, what becomes crucial within the next few months for India is, of course, the speed at which India is able to fast-track its negotiations for an interim deal with the US. Just tell us a little bit about India's plan to do so. I know that China, for example, is at advanced stage of negotiations in its own deal with the US. How does India compare? Just bring us context, and how does that matter where other players are?
Okay, I'm just going to give quickly the sequence of events. The moment the trade policy was announced, there was a meeting in which took place between the Commerce Minister and External Affairs Minister. Then they went to the Prime Minister. And that is when the detailed statement came out. And actually, the detail is in the fine print. I mean, if you look at the first statement which was released by the government, it does talk about the fact that our farming sector, MSMEs, are going to be protected and national interest is going to be first. So around 25th August is what we have been told was a pre-scheduled arrival of the American negotiators. As of now, now that position stands. Late night, yesterday, day before also, you had Mr. Rajesh Agarwal, who has been a chief negotiator, huddled in a meeting with the Commerce Minister, all the stakeholders, which is the Finance Minister, even the Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. They are all a part of a larger committee on trade negotiations. That committee has now, of course, been activated, and that committee is also going to now try and look at other options. See, we've got two procedures going simultaneously, Toya. One, of course, is keeping the door open with America for a possibly tweaked trade policy, and that is what is going to happen with the negotiators. Second, a certain section had anticipated the possibility of a high trade tariff, which is why we started looking for alternative markets and alternative products which, our export may have been little limited, but we are now going to grow up. Farmer, for example, which doesn't face reciprocal tariff.
From the Congress is with us right now. We're just going to go very quickly over to him to understand more about what the opposition is hoping to see from the nation, from the country's negotiators on the trading table. Manikam, to go over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. And we were expecting a detailed statement from the minister or from the Honorable Prime Minister, but the minister's statement was vague and he was not able to give us the clarity in the Parliament yesterday. And we expect that the Prime Minister should reply to the calls of Mr. Trump. It can't be like the way we are subdued to the pressure of the Trump administration. Mr. Modi is silent towards those issues of Mr. Trump, from the surrender, from the ceasefire part to the now the Trump tariff part. Our Prime Minister's silence is an issue, and India's interest cannot be compromised, and opposition will raise those issues continuously in the Parliament and outside also.
Okay. Mr. Tagore, if I could ask you, if we just put aside the ceasefire remark, which I understand is something that the Congress wants accountability for, you've asked it, brought it up multiple times in Parliament, but keeping our eyes on the trade deal, beyond a statement, what else do you want to see?
We want the way Mr. Trump is attacking us publicly. Negotiations can happen with the officials separately, but the way the American president is hitting at India and calling Mr. Modi as his friend, but hitting at India one after the other or his social truth channels, it is not at all acceptable. We can't be Zelensky model. It can't be like that. India can't be treated like the Zelensky part. The way he insulted Zelensky openly in the White House. Now he is insulting India through the Truth Social. So why our Prime Minister is silent? Why our Prime Minister is famous for all the tweets in his life. He tweets every day, minimum 3 to 4 tweets. There is no tweet on the part of Mr. Trump. Why he is afraid? That's the question we are asking.
Okay, Mr. Tagore, thank you for bringing us that question. Let's go over to our colleague Pallavi to understand more. But Mr. Tagore, thank you for joining us here on the show. Pallavi, the question the opposition, we're hearing them ask again and again, why aren't we seeing the centre give a more direct response to the US president, address his comments about a, quote, dead economy head on? What is the centre's calculation there? Why aren't we seeing them do that?
No, but the opposition wants him to be called a liar on the floor of the House, and these are diplomatic issues. You don't use such words for any head of state or any head of government. But both the sides are going to do what they have to do. Obviously, the opposition parties are finding an opportunity on which they are going to corner the government, calling it weak-kneed. And several comments, even today, I can see Mr. Pawan Khera and many Congress leaders raising the Russian oil issue and saying that this is where we are bending to America. And we did speak about it a short while back, Toya, that, the fact that we're looking for alternatives to Russian oil has got nothing to do with any kind of an American pressure. That is what top government sources are saying. So the opposition will relentlessly keep on the pressure on the government, both on the SIR issue and on this issue of Trump making claims and the silence of the Prime Minister. But as far as the government is concerned, the PM himself has given this advisory to his ministers that please don't talk out of line, don't make any comments, because it's a sensitive time. We are looking at negotiations, renegotiation, and issues of diplomacy cannot be, discussed like this, as far as the Parliament is concerned.
All right, Pallavi, we could just ask you to stay with us for a second. We want to keep our focus on this story. We want to understand next this other question. So, Pallavi, we could come to you to ask you, The second question, the US saying that there could be a penalty specifically because of Russian oil and defense imports. Does India have any idea right now, any lead on what that penalty could actually look like and mathematically what that could mean? Could it be to the tune of 100%, less, more? What understanding does India have here?
You know, Toya, when we took the Russian oil, we faced a lot of criticism back home over here and also abroad. Many Western countries started criticizing India, saying, why are you taking oil from Russia because the Russian-Ukraine war is going on? Why are you not standing with Ukraine? And at that point, this is also where the opposition parties made it a big issue. The minister had gone on record to say that consumers first. Russian oil was cheaper. Russia has been a long-standing friend, and the West should not call us so because they themselves are hypocrites. And as Jaishankar did say it on a public platform, that in the dead of the night, and I'm quoting him, the dead of the night, we often saw many European countries purchasing oil from Russia themselves. Now, when we first purchased Russian oil, it was on heavy discounts, and those discounts, obviously, as all discounts end, also start petering out. Now, the oil companies will always look in for a profitable procurement agency or a partner. That is what they've begun to do. We've started looking at Tanzania, we've looked at Western African countries, other Western African countries, we're looking at South Africa, we're looking at Cambodia, all other countries where we can also procure oil. What we really need to keep in mind is where the oil is going to be cheaper. Of course, we are also making a transition, and it's increasing to ethanol, which is eco-friendly, which is domestically produced, but that will also take some time, which is what government admits. But therefore, to say that we are moving away from Russian oil, our oil companies are not taking oil from Russia under any kind of an American pressure or sanctions, that's incorrect according to top government sources.
Thank you, Pallavi, for bringing us that context. Okay, we're going to be moving right now to breaking news we have coming in.